Listen up, I'm about to get dope.
What's going on? It's time for another episode of Too Hard for the Radio. Transmitting from the future-free state of Greater Idaho, I am the one-armed madman. And with me today to tell us about his new book, 14 Days in Beijing, we've got Chancellor Jackson. How you doing, my man?
Hey, what's going on, family? Blood balance to you. Blessings and balance to everyone that's tuning in right now. Big shout out to the viewers. Hey, y'all the real MVPs. Appreciate y'all for being here.
Right on.
Sure.
Right on. So I've had myself my fair share run-ins with the law over my years, and I've been in some nasty jail cells. But I can't imagine what it's like. Let's hear this. How did you end up in jail in Beijing?
Yeah. So after I graduated from college, Stetson University, go Hatters, down in Florida. For y'all that's not familiar with it, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in communication media studies. But ironically, my first job was teaching English to children. So
right
that's how I ended up out there. And I ended on October 10th, and I was supposed to do a year, but I only ended up doing 6 months total before everything hit the fan. But prior to, those last 14 days in China, it was the best experience I've ever had. I always encourage people to travel abroad, but if you could live abroad someplace else, man, you'll see how much you'll learn about yourself and, most importantly, life in general. So I'm in Beijing, living my best life, experiencing all that, that China had to offer. The people were extremely nice. I'm talking about best customer service I've ever received, hands down. And they don't accept tips. That's just them doing their job. They take pride in their work, very hardworking people, disciplined people. Food was absolutely amazing. Nothing, authentic Chinese food is nothing like we have here in America. It's two completely different cuisines. Food was lit. Working with the kids, that's what I was out there to do. I wasn't sure how that was gonna go. You know what I'm saying? Because you couldn't tell me. I played football for the vast majority of my life. So to go from the athlete, the student, now I'm the one leading the classroom. Oh yeah, that was a whole 180. I had to, just unlearn and relearn feel. But that was lit. I'm working with kids as young as 3 years old, all the way up to 14. But I mainly work with the elementary school age range. So most of our lessons ain't nothing but games, just keep them engaged. So we was lit every day in class. Of course, just exploring Beijing. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm in a different world, essentially. You know what I'm saying? But life as we know it. But it's drastically different. So just, just exploring and just meeting all the different foreigners out there. You know what I'm saying? That was it too. Like out of all the places I could have met you, we met in Beijing, China. One, it's not even easy to get into this country. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that we're here, hey man, I have nothing but a deep reverence for you. And I don't even know you because I'm just curious to know everything about your journey for you to be here and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So it was lit. It was lit. And then on April 4th, 2019, things took a turn. You know what I'm saying? I'm in my apartment. It's my day off, and head to a team builder event that my company is hosting. They host team builder events every month. And we're going to be customizing our own Chinese fans. So I was like, that's pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? Before I go, I said, I'm a pregame. So I'm in an apartment, drinking some Chinese wine coolers, smoke some cannabis at my little pot. I get done, get dressed, make sure I got everything before I get ready to walk out the door. I hear a knock. And guess I'm unfamiliar. I'm curious to see who it is. Walk over to the door, look at the people, and there's 3 officers from the Beijing police. Instantly, I got spooked. 6 stomach. Oh, what they doing here? Hold on. Scramble, put everything up, open the door, and they walk into the apartment, and the officer in front, he's talking. Yeah, I have no clue what this man is saying. It's written on my face. I have no clue what he's saying. So he takes out his phone, and he speaks into an app to translate. So I'm reading the translation. It says, "Are you on drugs?" Drugs, family? What you talking about, huh? You got no. I don't know what you talking about. You got me confused with somebody else. He speaks into the app again. Are there any drugs in the house? Family, where are you getting this information from? First of all, how you doing? You good? Okay, for sure. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't know what type of time you on. Passport? Yeah, let me go grab my passport. You got me confused with somebody else. Let me go grab my documentation to ease this confusion. I'm just, I'm saying? I'm just trying to finesse the situation. Yeah. So
get them out of your house.
Exactly. I go grab everything: visa, apartment contract, everything. Walking in there like, bro, I don't know what type of time you're on, but this is what you need to look at. This is me right here. So he sits down and he's looking over my documents. The other 2 officers are just, walking around the apartment, just scoping the place out. nothing too crazy. Just, you know what I'm saying, got wandering eyes. So a few minutes passed and they had me sit down. So I sit down at my dining room table that's in the living room, and I hear footsteps coming from down the hall. Mind you, the front door is still open. So I look back like, who is that? It's another officer approaching the apartment. So I ain't really thinking too much of it. I'm just like, oh, but how am I gonna get out of this situation? How am I gonna finesse this? You know what I'm saying? So the new officer enters the apartment and he has something in his hand. And he hands that item to the officer that's looking over my documents. And that officer tells me that I need to pee into this cup. So it's a
Oh
drug test right down the
no.
street. I said, oh, yeah, it's over with.
Oh no.
I like, it's over with. Do the drug test. Fail the drug test, of course. And now it's like 8 officers in the department. I don't even know where these folks came from, and they ransacking the place. You know what I'm saying? But one officer in particular speaks English fluently, so he's questioning me about failing the drug test. When the last time I smoked, if I had any more, you know what I'm saying? That whole nine. Like I said, I'm from Atlanta, the city of finesse. You live by the finesse, you die by the finesse. So every question this officer posed to me, the first thing that comes to my mind, I'm just blurting out answers. I ain't really think about it, you know what I'm saying? And it got to a point within our interrogation that I was catching myself in my own lie. So I knew for a fact he most likely is catch me in the lie.
Yeah.
But
And they're good at that stuff.
you know what I'm saying? You live
Yeah.
by the finesse, you die by the finesse. So
Yeah.
we started going back and forth. And once he realized that I wasn't gonna give him anything that he could work with, that's when he was like, you know what I'm saying? He just made it clear, like, man, the charade is up. You caught red-handed, it's over with. So I'm like, okay, for sure. I died by the finesse this time. I'll live the finesse another day. Now I gotta hold myself accountable. So fess up to it. They confiscate everything, throw the cuffs on me, escort me out the building, sit me down in the police van. And now I'm just in disbelief for just what just took place. One, and I'm curious as hell as how this thing finna play out. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, hey, just sit tight. You're gonna learn soon enough for sure. So we ride, we get to one precinct, and we're there briefly. Now this scene is pretty much the typical scene you see in TV shows and movies when they bring in new arrests. So you got the officers on desk duty. Envision that, but the Chinese version. You know what I'm saying? I'm the only foreign, the only English speaker in the whole facility. All eyes on me, of course. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still high. I'm just sitting there just reflecting on everything that transpired at the apartment, and just still curious. I'm like, okay, how this thing finna play out? What's finna be next? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have no clue. But I'm like, all in all, like, however this thing plays out, however it goes, I know I'm going to be good. I'm saying this to myself. I'm like, I know I'm gonna be straight when it's all said and done. My spirit still gonna be intact. My mental still gonna be intact. I'm still gonna be me. Whatever I'm have to endure, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be able to take it on the chin for sure. Now, I don't know how or what's gonna take place, but you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. And take note of every minor detail, because it's going to be a great story to tell once you're out of this predicament. And most importantly, boy, enjoy this high one last time, because we don't know what's going to happen to us. You know what I'm saying? No cap.
Yeah, right. It's lay it back. Hey, man, give me 10 minutes and then I'll answer your questions.
On me, for sure. So, well, I'm sitting there in the first precinct for about like 15, 20 minutes, and then they come get me and we get back in the van. So I'm like, okay, where are we going? You know what I'm saying? So we riding, about 30 minutes past. So we arrived at another facility. We walk in. This is another precinct. It's a little bit bigger and it has holding cells. So they had me change clothes and throw me in the holding cell by other Chinese men. And I'm in the holding cell for about like 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And they come get me and walk me to the basement of the precinct. We are walking down this white hallway and we enter this all white room. And in the middle of this room is this all metal chair that looks like an electric chair. In front of the chair is a regular table with 2 regular chairs in front of it for officers to sit at. And then you have a camera sitting on the tripod capturing the whole room. Yeah. So they walk me over to the little metal chair and they open it up and they looking at me and I'm looking back at them. I look at the chair, look back at them, look at the chair again, and look back at them like, y'all really want me to sit down in this type of chair? And they looking at me with a straight face. Yeah. So I sat my ass on down.
Shit just got serious.
Well, that thing like my shins, thighs, waist, chest, and arms all in one place. The only part of my body I could move is my head. So I did my whole interrogation locked into this chair. But by this time, there was plenty of time for me to come up with a good story to finesse them with. So I gave them my fabricated story. One officer was asking all the questions. The other officer was transcribing the entire conversation. So they bring the transcriptions over for me to review. Mind you, this thing is everything is written in Mandarin. So I have
Yeah.
no clue what this thing
Yeah.
says. But they say to sign it, I sign it. They say thumbprint it, I thumbprint it, and they release me from the chair. So I'm like, I bet. You know what I'm
All
saying? We
right.
get up,
Yeah.
go back upstairs, take my mug shot, handprint, and they throw me back in the holding cell. So now I'm just really reflecting on the entire day, what I could have did better at the apartment, what I could have said better during the interrogation, just coming up with just different
Oh, yeah.
scenarios. But I'm like, regardless if I still had a little bit of weed on me or not, with me failing the drug test, I was going to end up in this same predicament. So I was damned either way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, so it's like, it is what it is. And so now my high is finally coming down. You know what I'm saying? I'm fading in and out of consciousness. And I'm still handcuffed in the holding cell.
Yeah.
So trying to find a spot to lie down handcuffed is not easy to do.
Wrists are hurting like hell by that point. Yeah, people
So,
don't understand how bad handcuffs hurt, man. Those things
man,
suck.
no cap. No cap. And
Yeah.
every time I wake up, look up at the window in the back of the cell, the sun is fading more until it's just still darkness. So hours have passed. I don't know how long it's been, but I know hours have passed. They come get me from the holding cell, walk me to the lobby, bring my basket clothes, let me get dressed. So I'm like, oh, bet. See, look, when you work with these folks, your energy good,
yeah.
everything work out in your favor. So I done got dressed. I'm waiting for the next set of orders. Like, what's happening? Let's
Yeah,
go.
can I
I'm ready to go
now?
home for real. So they have me follow them through a door that's behind the front desk in the lobby. So we walk through this door. Now we in the hallway. At the end of the hallway is a small room crowded with officers. So I'm just following the CO into this room. I have no clue what this room is. But as I enter, I can only guess this is some form of evidence room, just because I see evidence bags everywhere. No sense of structure, organization whatsoever. It's just hoarded. Like, it's just shit everywhere. So I'm like, all right. In the middle of the room
This is the part of the porno when they're like, all right, what are you willing to do to get out of this, buddy?
On me, like, what is I'm like, what's gonna go on in here? So it's a table in the middle of the room, and in the center of the table is everything that was confiscated from my apartment. So one officer sits down at the table, and he weighs the weed up in front of me. Now, one, this is an interesting phase within the book, because as a reader, you're curious to know how much does he actually have on him. Two, I thought it was interesting. I'm like, I've never seen or heard of law enforcement weigh whatever they just confiscated from somebody right there in front of them. I thought that was new to me. So I'm like, that's interesting. And then three, as you can tell, I'm not really receiving no information as we go on. I'm just learning as I go. That's the premise of the whole book. I'm here to tell y'all I did 14 days. As you're reading, you have no clue how long you're going to be in this situation until one day they just finally call your name to come home.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, a lot of the only viable information I was able to receive were signs and messages from my higher powers, my ancestors, my guardian angels, whatever you want to refer to.
That was going to be like my first question is, were you talking to God in that cell? Because I would have been for damn sure. That's usually when it happens, when you're sitting there in that cell being like, oh man, I fucked up so bad.
No, for real. So he weighs up the officer weighs up the weed, and it totals out to be 1.4 grams.
Oh, man.
For those that partake in cannabis, you know, 1.4 grams ain't nothing. For those that don't partake in cannabis, we're talking units of measurement. 1.4 grams of anything isn't a lot. So I ain't have much on me, but imagine I have a whiteboard right here.
Yeah.
I write 1.4 on this whiteboard.
Big.
And then I erase the decimal. What number would you see?
Oh, 14.
Hence the title of the book. Now, did I catch that initially? Absolutely not. Went clean over my head. You know what I'm saying?
Look at that.
But that was the very first sign I received. And the other signs I received occurred in my dreams. So they put everything on paper, had me review it. Yet I can't read. I don't know what this thing says, but
did they give you a lawyer?
Oh no,
I didn't think so. Yeah, that's
ain't none of that going on. I'm representing myself.
Yeah.
Sign, thumbprint. All right, and we get in the van. So I'm like, okay. Yeah, I look at the radio on the clock. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. These folks arrested me at like 11:30 a.m. I've been in custody all day. I don't work with y'all. I'm like, there's no way they're not taking me by now. So we there. A 4:50 pass. We arrive at the facility. Detail tall walls and barbed wire. I was like, oh, we just getting started.
Yeah.
So enter the facility, go to the infirmary, do a quick physical, then take me to another room to change clothes, put me in my official uniform. They gave me a plastic bowl, a plastic spoon, and then we went upstairs to the second floor to where the men are housed. Walking down the hall, we get there 2:09, and the CO starts to open the door. Mind you, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, so people are asleep. As the door opens, my psyche is thrown by the setup of the cell. It ain't nothing but a big rectangle, I say about 10 yards in length. No, but I said 15 yards in length, 10 yards, you know what I'm saying? Big rectangle. You take, I say, I'm standing in the doorway, 1.5 yards, take 1.5 yards into the cell. That's where the beds begin. And they stretch from there all the way to the back of the cell. And there's ain't wooden planks, you know what I'm saying, with cubbies underneath each one. So on top of on the wooden beds, I describe it as, it looks like slumber. Like that's why all the inmates, like it looks like slumber party. Just like, back in the day we had sleepovers and your family or your teammates or whatever, and it's a limited amount of space to sleep. So we had to make room. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
But weirdly enough, across from the slumber party, standing up against the wall, wide awake, are 2 Chinese inmates watching them sleep. So of course, they're awake. So we make eye contact. So the last thing them folks expect to see come walk through the door with locks. Last thing I expected to see was 2 Chinese motherfuckers watching other Chinese motherfuckers sleep. So we just got this awkward moment of eye contact, trying to feel each other out, trying to make sense going on. So I do a head count, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, including me, it's 15 of us in the cell. I count the beds, 9 in total. Yeah. Well, it makes sense why it looks like a slumber party then. To the left is the bathroom. It's its own separate room, but all the walls are made of glass, so everybody in the cell can see inside. Have a regular sink, a toilet, so a hole in the ground you got to squat over. Shower ain't nothing but a water hose and a shower head duct taped together. You got black mold coating the walls, gnat stuff around. So it's not the most sanitary place, to say the least.
So when I lived in San Francisco, I used to take the bus, and I lived on the route of in the early route of the bus. So there was nobody on the bus when I got on, and then you would go through Chinese neighborhood, and then they would all load on, and then you'd make your way to Chinatown. And the way they would do this is interesting. When the seats are full and someone like me, white guy, sitting on the seats, they'll just come and sit on your lap. Because I heard that's how they roll in China. They just kind of pack on. So I can imagine that they were like packing in tight in these cells.
No, that's spot on. It's like when we was going through training, one of the very first training sessions we had was just learning about the culture and the people, like how they move in China. Yeah, personal space doesn't exist in China. Like there must be right here in your face. You know what I'm saying? I think nothing's wrong with it. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, there's no bed, but you're a little fat, so I'm just gonna lay on you as a cushion.
Nah, for real. Nah, for real. So, I approach the slumber party. I'm trying to find a spot to lie down. One of the inmates taking watch. He wakes 2 people up to make room for me, and they do. They have me set my bowl and my spoon in the cubby. And I lay down between these 2 Chinese dudes, my hands on my chest, and I'm staring at the bright light on the ceiling. And that's when reality fully kicked in.
Yeah.
Like, damn. Hey, well, in here, nobody knows we're in here. Nothing has been explained to us as far as how this process works, how long we're gonna be in here. I'm the only foreigner and more than likely the only English speaker in the cell right now, too. So it's not looking too good. Yeah. But hey, I gotta hold myself accountable because I knew what I was getting in, what I was doing, and I knew the repercussions from that. So now the shit has hit the fan, and here we are. Hey man, I get this to the end, however it's gonna play out. For sure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with that being said, there's no point in crying over spilled milk. What needs to take place to speed this process up? Well, people gotta realize you're in here. All right, well, you're supposed to meet friends and colleagues at the event today, but you know what I'm saying, you ain't show up. And they knew you was coming.
Yeah.
I'm sure they called you and you ain't answer. Is that a red flag? No, not really, but it's weird. Now, you don't show up for work Saturday and Sunday, our busiest day of the week. All hell is breaking loose because now they got to find somebody to cover all your classes last minute. Yeah. And one of those colleagues that's going to meet at that event, me and her worked at the same school and from Atlanta too. So she going to know, all right, he ain't show up to the event. Now he ain't showing up for work. Mm-hmm. Something's wrong. This is like him. Yeah, something's wrong. That's one red flag. I'm like, boom, that's one. 2, I had a girlfriend at the time. And we talk regularly. I'm like, when I don't respond to her messages, all hell is breaking loose. Mm-hmm. So I know I'm at the least the weekend. It's Friday morning now. Hopefully come Monday, the search for me will begin then. Yeah. So it's just really thug it through the weekend and just cross that bridge when we get to it. But yeah, we locked up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 15 men to one cell, 9 wooden mitts, 3 soups a day, And literally all I had was that plastic bowl and that plastic spoon for those 14 days.
Man, that's got to be a rough couple of days. I mean, the food in American jails is awful. I can't imagine, the food in a Chinese jail. Ugh.
Soup and
So
bread rolls.
there was like, I'm like thinking like the American who's used to, knowing the rules ahead of time and stuff like that. Like, I'm thinking, all right, so there's got to be some sort of like avenue for you to get a hold of the embassy or something like that. But it didn't sound like you didn't get a phone call.
No, I didn't make contact with the outside world until day 7. So I was in there a whole week before I was able to
Wow.
make contact with anybody. And that was only because we met with immigration that day. And his job was to find somebody who can his job was to find somebody that can buy us a plane ticket for whenever our time is up.
Yeah.
But how long am I supposed to be here? I have no clue. But
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? He just needs somebody that he can contact to your plane ticket for
Yeah.
whenever.
Now, did you know like the marijuana laws before you went there? And like,
Yeah.
or was it kind of
Yeah.
hit you you knew them? What, like,
Yeah.
is it just purely like I live in Nevada or in Idaho. So like it's really illegal here. I come from California.
Yeah.
So I rent rooms out of my house, and one of the guys got just hammered drunk at one point and like disappeared. I kicked him out. I was like, you can't be here like this. You got to go to a hotel. So at one point, like his family couldn't find him, so they do a wellness check. And the cops show up at my house. And this was right after I had an amputation, so I was drugged out of my mind. Doctor's drugs. But being from California, I had a little bit of weed in the house. And dude, right, like I think I even had less than you. And I had it in my laundry room. So being just out of it, and I know better than to let cops into my house. I grew up like with parents who told you cops are the enemy, like they're out to get you.
Yeah.
They just want to destroy your lives. Like you never let them in without a warrant. Like I know all these things, but I was wasted on drugs. So I let these guys in. I show them the room. Like he's not here. I don't know where the hell he's at, And being from California, no cop coming in to see if somebody's okay is ever going to look twice at a little bit of weed. And these guys were not California cops. And after we got done talking about the missing person, let's talk about the elephant in the room. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? What, you're 250 pounds? Are we going to talk about you? But, I go, you know what? It's time for you guys to go. I've been cooperative and I've had about enough at this point. You guys got to go. And they go, all right, it's time to go in and stop resisting. And then they beat the hell out of me. They ended up, I made a comment being a smart ass. The guy like held cuffs up like, here you go, and swinging them around like he's on TV. And I'm like, what are you going to do with those? Thinking like, I have one hand. How are you going to cuff me? And he took that as like, what are you going to do? Type of thing. So stop resisting. They beat the hell out of me. And then they can't figure out how to cuff me. They're like, how do you want to cuff this guy? They end up throwing a handcuff here, one here, and then put me around the back. And it was just it cost me thousands of dollars, Did you ever figure out how they knew? Did it like smell up the neighborhood and somebody called you in, or?
I have no clue. That's still a mystery to this day. I get asked that question so much, and I'm like, bro, I have no clue what possessed them to come to the apartment that day, because this wasn't their first time showing up randomly. You know what I'm saying? This is the third time that year.
Oh, really?
First time was in January. First time we just came to check our visas, make sure we say who we were. The second time was to remind us about in February, remind us about some safety hazards. They put a third time. I'm like, okay, this is like a routine thing that they do.
I'm just an American. They just want to make sure I'm not a criminal or something like that.
I ain't think much, you know what I'm saying? And I've been smoking in China since I got there. So it was like, it wasn't my first time smoking either. So
is it easy to buy weed in China? Is it easy to buy weed in China?
Yeah. But we was mainly smoking hash at first. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The last time I went to go cop, and they shorted your hash, so they only had actual bud. I think that's where I went wrong, because I'm like, I was smoking hash the whole time. Everything been peaches green. The moment I buy actual bud, shit hits the fan.
Crazy.
So I think that's where I
Crazy.
went wrong, for real, for real.
Yeah. I mean, I bet when that Brittany Venti case was going on where she got busted with the vape pen in Russia, I bet
Yeah.
that had you pretty up in arms, huh?
I was just like, man, I would love to hear this side of the story. We done heard this story from the media, all different forms of the media, but have yet to hear it from her mouth. Let me hear your angle.
Strange.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sure. So I'm like, I can't wait to. I think she wrote a book too. So I'm
Oh,
like, oh
that
yeah,
makes
I know
sense.
that's gonna go
Yeah, of
crazy.
course she would
I
have
know
a
it's gonna
book
go crazy.
deal coming back from something like, yeah, I mean,
Come on.
her
I'm
everybody
like,
knows,
I
yeah,
know
she's
that.
got a massive book deal. I didn't even think about that.
Come on. That's
Yeah.
gonna go crazy too.
Yeah. So, how has this like changed your look on criminal justice and stuff like that in America? Have you like dug into our
Well,
justice system at all, or do you just kind of want to stay away from it because you've had the up close
this is my
view?
first time being in that level of trouble. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Yeah, I play football. I walk
Yeah.
straight line. So it's
Yeah.
like, this is the most trouble I've ever been in. But I'm like, here I am, foreign, moving like an American in China. Who's tripping? Me. I'm the
Yeah.
one that's wilding. I'm out of line. I'm tripping. Like, I'm back home. Like, nah, brother, this not Atlanta, bro. This not Florida. Like, nah. So I'm like, for it to go the way that it went, I'm like, bro, I was the one that was out of pocket. So I had to tell us, I held myself accountable. As you read the book, I'm holding myself accountable.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I got
that's
to hold
a
my, you know what I'm saying?
and
Like,
that's a great like attribute of yours is to like say, hey, I knew the consequences going in. I chose to take the risk and now I got to
oh,
do the time and pay the crime. And I think
no,
like a lot of, right now TikTok's in the news. Oh, we got to ban TikTok. We got to ban TikTok. And it's like, hey, my kids aren't turning out exactly the way I want them to. Call the government. It's like, come on, you can't do that. You got to take responsibility for yourself.
on me.
You got
Facts.
to, get your kids into football. You know,
Facts.
do
Any type
something.
of
Get them
sport.
off the
Any type of
phone.
sport. Man, exactly. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even on TikTok. Just I
Yeah,
know
me
it's a
neither.
Chinese app, and I know how Chinese. I live there, so I know how they get down. They use it. Trust me, them folks monitor. Everybody's on the app. Best believe. Best believe.
What are the schools like over there? Like, I bet they have CCP agents in like all the schools, but like, we're having a lot of trouble with our schools over here. Their schools have to be like full indoctrination factories, right?
I didn't work in the actual in the school system. So I pretty much worked for a company that specialized teaching English as a foreign language.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I learned Spanish and French and all that, you know what I'm saying, stuff here. Over there in China, English is huge. Just so many companies. Disney teaching English to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Teaching English. So it's like, yeah, it's high demand. So I just worked for an English company. You know what I'm saying? So that's when the kids aren't in actual school, they with us.
Probably.
And just based on how they schedules are set by these kids. Like I said, I'm working with kids young as 3 years old, all the teenagers. But these folks got full schedules, like extracurricular activities outside of just regular school. Whether you playing a sport, you playing instruments, or a sport and an instrument, and you learning English on top. Like they be going. Them kids be full days, 12, 13-hour days. No cap.
Wow.
No cap. Even the work, we got 8-hour work schedules here. They work schedules 12 hours out there. I'm saying it's different. They move, they move different. It's a whole completely different culture, whole different vibration, whole different frequency. That's why I say, bro, you need to travel. Everybody need to travel, bro. See how much you'll learn about life. For sure. It's no life is live. What you in Idaho right now?
I'm in Idaho, but I've lived all over the place. I grew up in Northern California, and I was a motocross racer. So I moved down to Southern California when I graduated, and I raced a little bit amateur pro. I wasn't any good, but I did a little bit of racing after high school. And then I got into drugs really heavily. I was also a drug dealer. Like I was from Northern California and I moved down to Southern California. So I was from where they grow the weed, and then now I live where they buy the weed. So it was like a perfect position for me. I'd load the bike in the back of the truck and I'd fill up with like 30 pounds and I'd drive back and forth 1 or 2 times. And dude, like in Northern California, we've got this prison called San Quentin. and it's one of the
Yeah.
nastier
I
prisons
heard of
in.
San Quentin. Yeah, I
Yeah,
heard
you
of San
probably heard of
Quentin.
San
Yeah,
Quentin.
yeah,
It's a nasty prison, and I had to drive by it every time going down there, and you look over at that thing, you got 30 pounds, and you just go, oh boy, I'm gonna put the cruise control on on this one.
man. For real. So it's like you from California, live in Idaho now. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. How drastically different is Atlanta compared to Northern and Southern California?
Oh yeah,
How even more drastic is Atlanta to Idaho? Idaho to Northern.
yep,
These
yep.
are three completely drastically different places,
Oh
and
yeah,
everywhere in between. And we're just talking about one nation.
yeah.
So
I
imagine we
also
talk. Oh, now we comparing California to Ghana, Atlanta to Saudi Arabia,
yeah,
Idaho to goddamn France. You know, drastically different places,
yeah,
and everywhere in between is drastically different. Life is lived drastically different. So it's like, with that being said, you won't learn that until you travel. If you only
yeah.
domesticated,
No,
you
it's
only gonna think
absolutely
one
true.
certain way, look at life one certain way. So it's like once you start expanding your horizon and get exposed to just differences within the world, how can one say that they know the right and
Yep,
wrong way of living life?
yep. I
Everywhere you go, it is drastically different.
I did a year in Maui as well. And I mean, talk about changing your perspective on life
Come
in
on,
so many
come on.
ways. Like being in a place so beautiful is that changes you immediately. But then also seeing the way it shouldn't be an American, it shouldn't be in a state in America. It's its own country and it should be
Yeah,
treated in that way because it's so different. Like to see the way that people just do what they have to do to survive. So over there, they have what they call Filipino houses. So if you got a big house and you don't have a great job, you section it off into three different sections and you rent them out. You just rent out
yeah,
space. A lot of the guys that I worked with, one of the head for our security was 40 years old. He'd been working at the same bar for 20 years and he lived with his parents and his grandparents. And you hear that story in Northern California, you go, what a fucking loser. I had friends that were
yeah.
like that who just didn't care if they ever did anything with their lives but it changed the way I looked at it because they were so much closer to their families. They were happy with what they had instead of like wanting more and more and more. So like now that I'm in this position, when I moved in, I bought a house here in Idaho. I was married at the time. I'm divorced now and I'm not going to be able to make the kind of money that I made before I got hurt. And
Yeah.
instead of like selling my house or struggling at a job, just killing myself to make the mortgage, now I rent 2 rooms out. I have a 3-bedroom house, and and then a couple months ago, I had a guy living here. He's like, "When do you think it'd be a good time for me to buy a house?" And I go, "Homie, you need to build a house." So I'm talking about buying a house. You need to build a
On
house.
me.
And then I pull out these house plans and I'm showing him my house plans. I'm like, look, I drew plans for this building that I never built. I'm like, here, look, you do this and you can build and blah, 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 blah. And then I start thinking, "Now, you know what? I could still build that in my backyard and rent out another room."
Mm.
And then I start looking into it and I go, I think I might get hell from my homeowners association. And I go, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to put it in my dining room. So now I'm doing it in my dining rooms. I've got a room being built in my dining room. It's going to be another few $100, probably closer to $1,000 a month. And
Passive income.
I haven't told the guy this yet. It's funny. He's actually standing over here in my kitchen right now listening to this, but God works in mysterious ways. Thank you for bringing that up, buddy. Logan, thank you.
You know me. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was, man, being out there changed. Like I learned so much, man. And like you said, China's the same way. Like the parents raise the kids. Once the kids are able to fend for themselves, now the roles automatically flip. Now the parents move in with you know what I'm saying, the kids.
How it should be.
Now they moving with the kids now that are adults. And they adults now, but the parents move in with them. You got babysitters. You ain't got to pay for. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They more likely gonna keep the house clean. You know what I'm saying? They move as a tribe. Here in America, it's like every man for himself. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? Just two different cultures. That's all it is.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
And
So
you know that your kids are being taught right because they're being taught values like right in front of them, like good
come
value, at
on,
least maybe not always good, but the values that you want
yeah,
them to have rather
come on
than
now.
what the over oppressive, like I can imagine that the state over there is very oppressive, but when you have a strong family unit like that, it's hard for the state to really get too out of control. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm saying. I guess China is completely out of control in a lot of ways, but it drives me nuts where people are beating the war drum. Or, we got to go to war with China. And it's like, dude, they make all of our stuff. Half their
Come on.
population is just food to mouth poor. And it's like, they're normal people. Like you said,
Yeah.
they live with their families, they love their families. They play what sports are popular over there? What sports do they play?
Baseball,
Baseball.
soccer, basketball. Yeah, them three: baseball, soccer, and basketball. For sure. It is a football team, like American football team out there, but it ain't that big. You know what I'm saying? If you know about it, you know. But I had students that baseball, of course. You know what I'm saying? Every soccer, that's a global sport. Everybody and their mama plays soccer around the
Oh
world.
yeah.
And then basketball is a global sport as well. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But them the big three for sure.
Yeah. Motocross is a global sport. A lot of guys
Yeah.
grow up in Europe and you have to travel a lot over there to ride, and they make their way over here and they just love it. I hear people complaining about the United States. It's, oh, people don't want to come here anymore, blah blah blah. It's like, man, you watch one motocross race where some guy from Germany or France or England wins their first race and they're just so happy I'm so happy to be over here and racing and just it's great. And it's like, man, we've got it pretty good over here. And
Yeah, for sure.
you've
Folks, bro,
experienced.
everybody mama moved here for a reason.
Yeah.
But like to be an American in a foreign country, you are man, I'm talking you're God, essentially. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're viewed just because you're American. Everybody wants to come to America eventually at some point in time.
Oh yeah.
Like everybody, because they already know what America is cap. Hey man, that's the money. That's where the money at.
Yeah. Even with
That's where the money
America,
at. You know what I'm saying?
even within America, we have hierarchies of places that everybody wants to. Everybody wants to go to California. You tell people, I would tell people growing up that were racing from different areas of, oh, I'm from California. It's like, oh, you ever meet any movie stars? It's like, no, man, I live fucking 100 miles north from San Francisco. Nobody comes around there like that. Like,
Come
we
on.
live in wine country.
No, for real. You know what I'm saying? So that American status, man, that's what just trying so important, man. Like to be in China as a Black American, man, like we're the culture for sure. You know what I'm saying? That they try to emulate, especially hip hop. Hip hop is another global construct that everybody, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna see it no matter where you go for the most part. It's gonna be somebody that listens to hip hop that really love it too. Man, they ain't doing nothing but emulating who. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying?
Yep.
It is
And
crazy.
man, hip hop is powerful. This show is called Too Hard for the Radio. That's named after a Mac Dre song, Too Hard for the Radio. We played it in the intro. I mean, this was a guy who changed culture in Northern California and it radiated throughout the entire country and probably throughout the world. I mean, a lot of people don't know who Mac Dre is, but
Not for
they
real.
will absolutely know the things that he injected into American culture. Ghost riding the whip, um, hyphy, the hyphy movement. These were all started in Vallejo, California by one rapper. And I mean,
That's
and
crazy.
this was back when he couldn't get on the radio. It's what the damn song's
Come on.
about. They wouldn't play him. He had to sell tapes out of the back of his car. And
Come on, man. Marathon.
he was still able to change culture in not only his area, but the entire country. And there's something
Man,
powerful about that.
mogul right there. It reminds me of Nipsey. Nipsey Hussle. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It sounds just like Nip. For sure. And Nip is a huge influence for me. You know what I'm saying? I got my daddy is from South Central Los Angeles. I'm just from Atlanta. So I got connections to out west. You know what I'm saying? It's second home for sure. But Man, Nipsey Hussle is definitely a huge influence on everything on me and a lot of my peers. It's a lot of West Coast rappers. TDE, Dom Kennedy, you know what I'm saying? The whole man, what West Coast is, man, it's a different vibe out there for sure. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I
Oh
move
yeah.
completely different.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to describe to people who didn't live through it how powerful it was. Uh, I mean, when he got shot, it was a somber day in California. And
Man,
I mean, even in San Francisco, Vallejo today, you can walk down random alleys and find big Mac Dre
yes.
murals over the entire fucking wall. And, you know, his message was so powerful because he was so smart. You know, he got thrown in jail at a young age and really saw what the government was doing to Black Americans, crack, the war on drugs,
I mean,
and that really shaped like the way he lived his life. And it wasn't the division that you see today, where it's, you know, are you for Black Lives Matter or are you for all, like,
yeah,
and
all
people
that
are no,
foolishness.
man, dude. Most of his a lot of his probably most of his fans were white kids, and he knew it, and he didn't care. He loved it, and that was the, you know, it was a great way to bring people together. Wasn't the greatest values that we were coming together over, but you
Yeah,
know, now down the line, 20 years later, we're all different people,
I
and we
mean,
still
for real.
remember that, and you know what it did for the place that we grew up in. It's an interesting thing to watch somebody have a powerful enough message to change
On me.
just everybody.
Now, for real, it's like hearing about the civil rights movements and all these different civil rights, you know what I'm saying, women's rights, you know what I'm saying, all these different movements way back in history, and just it taking one individual to be on the front line of it. You know what I'm saying? But so to witness it now in our day and age and a whole different type of time, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
It's empowering. It's
I'm
empowering.
hoping, like, I live here in Idaho, obviously, and we've got a good thing going on here. A lot of the people that are fed up with the way things are going in California have all made their way here. People that I grew up racing with moved here independently of me,
Mm,
and you know we hooked up down the line. It's like Jesus, we're all, you know, like-minded people going to the same place, and we're looking into like expanding Idaho into Oregon. Essentially, there's 13 counties right
mm,
now that want to go say no more Oregon. We want to go into Idaho. And one of the big sticking points is going to be marijuana
yeah.
because it is illegal in Oregon and it is very illegal here, and they want to keep it that way. But the problem is like the border is only 40 miles from Boise, so,
What?
in an essence, we do have legal weed in Boise. You just have to
Yeah,
drive a little ways to get it.
yeah.
And the sticking point is between these two things is going to be the people who want freedom, but also want weed. It's like, which one do you want more? Do you want to have be in a more free area, or do you want to have weed? And I hope that it becomes a conversation about freedom rather than drugs. It shouldn't be a conversation about drugs. You know, you get these Republicans who are screaming, look, you said it was my body, my choice until a vaccine came out. Now that rule doesn't matter. But also, you can't smoke marijuana. You should go to jail for that. It's like, come on, we need to have consistency. Like, do you want freedom or not? Because
Oh,
you
man.
can't have it both ways, you know?
Oh, man.
So I'm
Um,
hoping that we're gonna make some make some noise up here in Idaho and make this a free state.
that's lit, man. Hey,
Yeah.
man, I wish y'all nothing but the best on that, but that's gonna be historical, no cap.
It will. And you know, years ago you would have thought, that could never happen. But you would have also thought that the government couldn't lock us in our houses for a year either. So
Come on.
it doesn't I don't think it's actually as crazy as it sounds. Are you still down in Atlanta?
Mhm.
Your family live there still?
Yep.
How did How did your mom take it while you were in there? I'm sure it just tore her up, right?
It was funny. They said when I was able to make contact with people, that was the first person I called
Oh, of
because he was
course.
like,
Yeah.
who can buy your plane ticket?" I can buy my own. He's like,
Yeah.
"No, you can't do it. I need somebody else."
Yeah.
I only know one person
Yeah.
number by heart, and that's truly
Yeah.
reliable. And let me call Dukes.
Of course.
I call her and she answered the phone. She's like, "Hello." I said, "What's going on, mom?" She's like, "You tell me." I said, "Oh yeah, I'm locked up." She's like, "Yeah, I got a email from the US Embassy let me know that, you know what I'm saying, what all took place." And ironically enough, I'm in the car right now with your brother. He dropped me off at the airport. I'll be in Beijing tomorrow by 5 p.m.
Oh,
Damn.
that's a good mother. That's I bet you just a massive weight got lifted off your chest as soon as you heard that. Just
I
like,
was shocked. I
"Oh,
was like, tomorrow
thank
by
you."
5? I'm like, oh, I was like, hey, my mama said she'll be here tomorrow by 5. He said, tell her to turn around. Ain't nothing she can do.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, damn. I said, hey, he said, ain't nothing you can do. Can you buy this plane ticket though? She said, I'll be there tomorrow by
You
5 p.m. But yes,
bullshit,
I
there
can
ain't
buy
nothing I can do. I'm coming to China.
but I can buy the plane ticket, but I'll be there tomorrow by 5 p.m. So once I said, yeah, she can buy the plane ticket, he said, hang up the phone. I said, all right, mom, I gotta go. And we only talked for like less than a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
For real.
yeah.
Short conversation, but it was crazy. I'm like, yeah, she said she's gonna be here tomorrow. Damn. She ain't
So,
playing no game.
did you know that you were gonna write a book while you were sitting there? Or were you, like, thinking about it at the time? Or did it take, like, getting out and
Yeah,
sitting
it
back
took
and,
some
like,
time for
compressing and
sure.
stuff?
Just me, once I got back to America and I'm meeting with friends or family members and I'm just telling them the story verbally and just seeing their body language shift and change as I'm telling the story. I'm like, okay, I got something on my hands. I don't know how I'm gonna go about sharing this to the masses, but I definitely want to do something with this story. Um, and I was hanging out with one of my friends I grew up with, DeMarco Reddins. He was he traditionally published author before we graduated high school in
Mhm.
2014. He was like, "Hey, bro, you ain't think about writing a book about the experience?" I'm like, boy, that's a good ass idea. I
Yeah.
don't even know where to start. That's a good ass idea.
Yeah.
He took my phone, went to my notes section, left me a 5-layer outline. And I just started filling in the outline. And by doing that, I caught a flow for how I wanted to tell the story.
Mhm.
So I moved it from the notes on my phone to a Google Doc so I could type it up on my laptop. 4 months later, that story was written, and then just spent the additional 6 months just getting it ready for publishing. So on April 4th, 2019, that was the day I got arrested in China.
Yeah.
On April 4th, 2020, the anniversary date, 1 year later, I released the very first version of 14 Days in Beijing on
Oh, wow.
Amazon. I was ranked the number one new bestseller in 3 different genres.
Wow. That's something. Were you a
Mhm.
writer before? Like, did you ever do any type of writing other than, like, academic writing or, like, any writing for fun or
Strictly
no?
academic, just strictly
Just
academic. And
academic.
really, in grade school before college, I can't even tell you. I don't remember writing for real, for real.
Mhm.
I only remember writing in college once I got to college, it was a rude awakening. I'm talking about, and then my degree, communication media studies, that's an extensive writing course. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh, damn, I got a paper in this class, I got a paper in this class. I'm like, damn, hold on, wait a minute. I ain't know I signed up for all of that. So it took me a minute just to, you know what I'm saying, get into the flow of just being used to write, or just learning how to write
Yeah.
one, and then knowing this is something I'm gonna have to do until I
Yep.
graduate. And then even my senior research, I had to write like a 40, 50 page paper. I
Yeah.
didn't write it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I got somebody else to do it. But I'm like, that was never one of my strong suits.
Yeah.
So for me to be now 3-time published author and bestseller. It's just like, man, it's
That's
ironic
something.
within itself.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah, after I got hurt at one point, I was the same. I've lived a crazy life, racing motocross, selling drugs, homeless in Hawaii,
Mm,
bartending in San Francisco. I've done a lot of stuff, blown my hand off. And it was like, well, this is an interesting story. Like, I don't know, like you, like how I don't know how I'm gonna tell this story, but it's a story, and
yeah,
people would like to hear that. Like anytime I tell people story, they're like, like, oh, here's some more story, and it's like, and I start thinking, oh, I reach out maybe to other writers. Would you be interested in this story? And at some point, it hit me like nobody's gonna do this for you. Like if you want to do it, you gotta do it yourself, and it's
me.
gonna suck. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be with one finger. And I just started typing away, and I just do it on Substack. I'll release a couple here and there, and I actually ended up giving up on the biography type stuff, and I moved on to a sci-fi novel that I'm working on, which has been fun to think about.
Yeah.
I've always really loved sci-fi, so I actually decided I'm going to inject parts of my story
On
into
me.
the sci-fi book
On me.
because a lot of people don't want to read boring shit about me. Yeah, I don't know, maybe not. So let's put it into a sci-fi book. Let's make it fun and entertaining and see what happens.
Hey, that's hard. That's hard. And now,
Yeah.
so it's like for me, writing 3 books or publishing 3 books, and having so much success really on the first one. I knocked the first one out the park,
Oh
but I
yeah.
knew I'm like, but it's gonna go crazy. I knew when I was going through editing phase, trying to come up with the cover and all that. I'm like, but it's gonna go crazy. I already knew it was. So when I released it, put it out to the universe, and it was going slap crazy like I knew it would, man, it was just so many people reaching out to me that had aspirations of becoming or being a published author since they was children. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Here I am. My partner just threw me the idea and I
Yeah.
just took it and ran with it, knocked that thing out the park. You know what I'm saying? I made it look easy.
Yeah, but you did the work for 20 years. It's like
For sure.
when you pay the contractor to work on the room, I'm not paying him $10,000 to build a wall. I'm paying him $10,000 for the 20 years it took him to learn how to build that wall.
On me. Facts. Facts.
So,
Facts.
it's you're not paying for the time that you spent typing away on that. You're paying for the experience, for the education, all of it.
On
And,
me. On me.
that's what it took to get it all on paper. And I'm sure it was not easy. But, sometimes when you write things, it's good or it's bad. And when it's good, man, like you can write something and get done. And you go, that was good. And then you can pick it up 2 weeks later, 3 weeks, a month later, and you start reading it again. And you go, yep, that was good. Sometimes you'll read stuff and you just go, I don't know what I was thinking on this.
On me.
And
For
then
sure.
sometimes you read, you go, yep, that was good. And sometimes things just click. So
I knew
that's
14
great
days
that
was
you
gonna
were
be-
able to do that.
But it's like I feel like we all have stories like a 14 days in Beijing.
Oh, of
We
course.
all have stories like that. And now with so many people reaching out to me, you know what I'm saying, just want to pick my brain on how I did it, you know what I'm saying? Because they
Yeah.
got stories they want to tell. I'm like, for sure, let me coach you or walk you through the process. So now I just started a service through my own publishing company that I started in 2021. All my books are published through it. I coach people through the writing and publishing phase. So anybody out there with an idea or concept for a story, but not sure how to go about putting it on paper, or you've written a whole book, but not sure how to go about publishing, tap with your boy. I can walk you through either or process or both of them if need be. I've worked with plenty of people since 2020, but I had one person finish, see it all the way through. And I met him in 2021. We published his book in 2022, October last year. And his book went #1 new bestseller in 2 different genres. So that let me
Wow.
know right then and there. I'm like, okay, you know what the fuck you talking about to a degree. Like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And for him to take everything that you done observed and you done learned through this whole writing and publishing process, and he done applied it, and he done reached the same level of success, and that's only book 1. He got there and we got a series coming. I'm like, oh yeah, we gotta keep our foot on this gas for sure.
That's awesome.
You know what I'm saying? So
And I
that's just
love the independent publishing,
come on,
how it's just,
come on.
I think you're the third independent writer that I've had on here.
Yeah.
And it's just great. I mean, back in the day, if you didn't have a line to the publishing company, no one's going to ever read your fucking book. No one's ever. I got a used bookstore in my town full of books that nobody's ever read.
No me.
But now, I mean, you do a podcast, you do your Twitter, you have an audience and you're writing. You can write for an audience at this point and know, like, hey, this is my audience. They're going to buy this book no matter what. I can sell to my audience. And I think it's great. Like, some of these guys who've been able to, like, I've heard writers say how they've published a book with a publishing company, made almost nothing, and didn't even get any publicity from them. Essentially, like, I don't know if you've heard of Michael Malice, but he published his last book independently. It went #1 on Amazon. And before that, he went through a publisher. They were supposed to, we're going to get you on all the shows and everything. They didn't get him on any podcasts. He got himself on Joe Rogan. And he was like, what the hell do I need you for?
It's a middleman. It's essentially what it is. And Amazon changed the game. Ever since when Amazon originally started, it was originally a bookstore.
Yeah.
It was originally a bookstore, so Amazon changed the game with the self-publishing. That's not, and Amazon's just one avenue. Barnes and Noble got one. Kobo, it's so many different avenues you can go through to publish, self-publish. But you know what I'm saying? Of course, Amazon, the big dog. So it was just crazy how, because I didn't know how I was gonna go about publishing. I don't know how I'm gonna publish this thing.
Yeah.
And then one of my partners that was working for Amazon in the warehouse at the time, he's in her warehouse. He just sent me the link, like, hey, bro, I just heard about this shit. Check it out. Like, I know you writing the book, just check it out. So I'm looking, I'm like, hold on. Hey, I think I done figured out how I'm finna publish this thing. Okay, I figured out, I'm like, exactly how I'm finna, and it's independent too. The Nipsey Hussle way, the marathon way. I said, oh yeah, bet this is what we finna do. Come on.
That's what it is. You know,
all money in.
I love seeing like some of the new bands and rappers and guys who aren't even going in for the representation anymore. They're just making their own YouTube channel, putting up their own shit right to the channel, and then selling fucking tickets.
Come on.
Which is what it's all about.
I'm telling you, the independent way, man, it's so empowering to put something out into the universe and see such a huge positive response to it. That's a high of a lifetime. No cap. Especially to own it. I feel like that's something that most Americans are never, you know what I'm saying, won't get to experience, or probably, you know what I'm saying, that you really won't get to experience ownership. To own something. Okay, you might own a house, but like far as a product, a service, like this is something that's solely me. Most people I'd rather just be an employee or a consumer. You know what I'm saying? So to be on the other end of it, man, it's a high of a lifetime. It's empowering. No cap.
What a way to get out of here. Chancellor, thanks for coming on, man. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Likewise.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Good night.